And there's no video. Well, welcome to the stream, everyone. There's no video. Hold on a second. What is going on with that? Hey, there we are. Greetings, gamers, and welcome to the 139th live stream from the MisfitGamersStudios. I'm your host, Vortex, and this is D&D Discussions. On today's episode, it's going to be super casual. We are going to be chatting with you. Chat is going to direct the conversation, so y'all are going to get to pick what we're going to tangent about today. I do have Kage not in the studio, but he is remoting, so we are going to have a funnel chat. He's gotten some upgrades, so it's going to be kind of cool. But I did cast invisibility. Actually, no, it would have been darkness. The invisibility, you just wouldn't have seen me, but there was nothing. It was darkness. But anyway, I do have Kage here, but I do have a topic that I wanted to start off because we did go semi-viral. We did technically go viral. We had 2 videos go viral on TikTok this week. That was kind of really cool. I didn't expect 2 back to back, but now that they have gone viral, I spent a lot of time in the comments. I've lost count of how many hundreds of comments at this point I've read and responded to, but being in that comment section, it's kind of got me thinking about the community at large, and I do have a specific topic that I want to talk about that comes from that. So that's where we're going to start, and then after that, it's going to be up to y'all what we talk about. So let me go here, and boom, look at that. There we go. I have to unmute him. Hold on. Wait, you are unmuted. No, hold on, everybody. Hold on, everybody. He's... Oh, that's right. Wrong person is muted. There we go. Okay, he is unmuted. I forgot. We have a very complicated setup when he remotes, but we have him back.
Yes, we're working on it. We're getting the kinks all worked out, but it's a good deal. It's a good deal. I'm excited.
Yes, absolutely. So, yes, it is fantastic to actually get this set up. So you have a nice new setup now. It is weird. I point this way talking to the computer, but normally I talk this way, and that's actually where your camera points. So it's kind of weird. I have to point in the opposite direction to make it make sense for the fans. But yeah, so nice new setup. Chat, let us know how the audio is working. Obviously, the video is, I think, just fine. But I'm curious what you guys are, because I can only hear him through my Bluetooth headset. So I don't have the exact quality that you guys do. So I'd like to know what you guys think of his quality setup, and we'll tinker with it as we go. I mean, hopefully we won't do too many, but through the winter, it might just be one of those things that we have to account for a lot
every
more.
once in a while. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I haven't checked the video in a second, but yeah, crazy enough with the two viral videos, one of them like makes sense because I did the Stitch on Theater of the Unaligned, and that one massively blew up, like out of absolutely nowhere.
Oh yeah.
I was expecting it to be like one of our more semi-popular videos. I mean, before that, our best video did 6,000, so I'm like, okay, I could expect a couple thousand from doing a Stitch from them.
Views? Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, no, that one went like out of nowhere, just blew up. So we're resting at 89,000 for them. But we had like I think the first 3,000 or 30,000 within like the first 10 hours. So pretty good on that one. But a couple days later, one of our random live stream shorts, that blew up, went way past already, like blew past the numbers within a few hours. So that one actually sped up a lot more, and we're just hovering right around 146,000 views on that one. So not bad for, again, going from our best that was 6,000, and then before that, most of it was 1,000 or less. Like we started getting some traction, but seeing those two go so quickly was a good sign. So it's nice to see that, yeah, the quality is there, right? Like the content is there. It's now just continuously working with the consistency and working with the time frames. I'm learning a lot more about when to post, what type of topics throughout the week are the better suited ones. So it's just taking a lot more time to invest in the analytics, because the analytics of TikTok are weird. Like you don't get a whole lot of feedback, and you kind of have to piece things together yourself. So I basically realized that there's going to be a lot of experimentation, and instead of shying away from it, I'm basically leaning into experimentation. So been looking into the forums, looking at a couple more, of what people are saying. A lot of it's BS. Like you can just see that a lot of people are just trying to get
that's how people roll a lot of the times. It's very true.
But I have found a couple unique things that have helped in terms of like getting that first one to pop was actually pretty good. So yeah, I'm looking forward to more. I'm not expecting our videos to do this every single week, but having one of our own produce like get more popular than the one that we did a Stitch of already a popular group tells me that we're at least in the right direction and our content is worth it. It's just honing this shorts and figuring out what part of our content is worth it. So it's possible. All it tells me is it's possible, and TikTok doesn't hate us, at least. Like that's the big thing for me, is that TikTok doesn't hate us. We aren't buried in the algorithm. We're definitely not shadow banned. And it's just going to take more finesse and just consistency. We never know what video is going to go live. I mean, it's funny. Those videos have gotten so many views, and then the mid videos the very same day that posted hours after it got mediocre, regular 200, 300, 400 views, right? So it's not like
that's so wild.
Our account has blown up. It was those particular videos hit a mark. And I've gone over the analytics. I've gone over the hashtags that I used versus what keywords brought people there, and there was no correlation between the two. Like I cannot find a single correlation between why those two, like it wasn't like there was a hashtag that I shared that I never used before, or a certain person that reposted it. It's just both of those in isolation just hit a nerve in the algorithm, and it worked. So it just tells me that that's what we just have to keep doing, is being consistent, and just really just hoping that if I can find that sweet spot, continue to nurture it and continue to grow. So we're almost at 500 followers.
100%.
I had a goal to reach 100 by the end of November, and now we're almost at 500 because of those 2 videos.
Good.
So
gravy. Hell yeah.
that was really cool. We have where are we with likes?
Can't wait till we get
We're also able to go live.
1,000.
So we are able to go live, but TikTok is really strenuous right now. We're really strict on giving out their stream keys. So it seems that I can only go live on the platform itself. There is a desktop way I can do it, and I don't know if my computer currently can handle running 2 stream outputs like that. It can barely handle what OBS does, but I don't know how questionable this would be. But I did learn that there is an app, or basically a software that will generate a Twitch stream key or a TikTok stream key. So it'll actually log in. Yeah, I got to do some more research on it, because you actually have to like give it your credentials and log in with it. And, you know, on the surface, it seems harmless like anything else, you know, log in with Google kind of stuff. But I don't know what it's actually doing in terms of that generation. So I need to do some more research. I want to see if it has at least like a GitHub, because at least that way I can feel a little bit more confident in it. But
that's fair enough.
Yeah, at the end of the day, if that's the way to do it, because that will generate the key, it's supposed to generate the key that I will be able to integrate with same thing that I do with YouTube. So we should be able to do it. I don't know how important it is, because otherwise I think I might have to get towards like the 100,000 follower mark on TikTok for them to consider, you know, me high profile enough to potentially get a stream key. So before then, my biggest concern is that if I do that, I don't know if Twitch is capable of noticing that it's coming from a stream key versus if I were just coming from the app or the desktop software. And that's the biggest deal, is if they're able to see that I'm coming through a stream key, they might be able to flag my account knowing that I wouldn't have access to one. And I don't know if that would screw up our account. That could get us shadow banned.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Interesting to if you could experiment with it on like an alt account or something like that, just to see what effect it has, and then if it works well, use it officially. But
all right. Chat is saying that you are a little quiet, so let me turn you up. And then
okay. Cosmic has a question. What is your question? Good, right. Cosmic.
And Soul, I've turned it up. Let me know if his audio is pretty good. And then after the question, we'll get into our topics after this question. But yeah, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that this will continue. It is nice not to log into several hundred comments and have to sit there for 10 minutes scrolling.
Right. But no, that's way cool. And it's so funny that all this happened like right after we started talking about us going viral and like what it would look like for you to log in and see your 99, and then boom, out of nowhere, 2 of our videos just skyrocket. So I don't know. It's definitely pretty cool. It's definitely pretty cool. So you were saying this the other day, and I really vibe with it. And it's just the fact that I like what we do. You know what I mean? And I think more than anything, that is super important, is like for us to enjoy like the content we're creating and we're putting out and we're making. And I think that's, it's definitely exactly what we want to push for. And we don't want to forget that that's what we're doing, is we're making content that we're going to like and we're going to enjoy. So I don't know. I'm super duper here for it. I'm super duper here for it.
Looks like he posted your question.
Which of my 5 works in progress items should be a priority based on what you want? What I want? I want creativity from other individuals. So as long as all of them have that, that's what I want. But let me read. She says number 1, Tales of Kitsune. Interesting, a wondrous item. Number 2, Jester's Quiver. Now, is that specifically Jester from like Critical Role Jester, or is this just like a Jester's quiver? So interesting. Quiver for a bow, not the bow itself. Interesting. Okay. Interesting. So the magic item is the quiver. I don't think there's enough of those. Number 3, Twisted Folly. Uh, Sentient Polearm. Always love sentience. I would say for that one, I really hope there's some lore behind the sentience. Vanguard's Golden Shield. Item and 5th level spell. Very interesting. I'm curious how you combine that. And 5, Cleric subclass Shrine Maiden. Now, Shrine Maiden has been well anticipated by you for us for a while, so I'm very interested to see what that looks like. But again, we've had a lot of subclasses already, and I'm definitely looking forward to more items and things of that nature. You have a couple items coming down the pipe anyways, already in the queue, so that's not bad. But out of what I've seen so far, I'm gonna go with... I wish I knew more about Tales of the Kitsune, because that sounds vaguely Japanese and kind of down my vibe. But because there's not as many magic items having to do with like quivers or kind of like support items, I'd be interested to see what that has to do with it. Number 3 sounds interesting. A sentient polearm would... I think any type of sentient weapon is interesting, or sentient item at all, because there's lots of interaction that can happen there. So
they're very difficult, but they can be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
in terms of especially for a DM on how you want to run it.
Yeah. So, and it's like, are you giving the player control of the sentience? Is it like that insignificant to the gameplay, or is it important that like there's actually lore behind it? Like, can you interact with this thing? You can do all kinds of stuff with it. So, I'm here for it all. I'm here for it all, to be honest. Oh, interesting. Allows other classes to wild shape. That sounds cool. That sounds cool. I mean, I don't want to take away from the uniqueness of a druid and like what makes a druid special. But I definitely like the idea of maybe some limited wild shape abilities, you know, basically like a low level polymorph or something like that. I'm not mad at it.
Chat, I got new shirts, by the way. Shout out to Big Dungeon Energy.
Yeah.
For helping me like do some outside research. So I finally got some good quality ones too, because I'm like, I needed... My biggest concern about buying shirts online is good quality, but I wanted to find some better graphic tees, because I feel like the more I look at our old videos, I feel like I'm catching myself checking videos to be like, when was the last time I wore that shirt? But yeah, so this is one of my one of the new ones. I love this one.
Oh yeah. That's fire.
This is like one of the first ones I picked out. And then I haven't actually washed this one to wear it yet, but I have one of the old artwork shirts. So, bam.
You gotta send me the link.
I love this
I
old
wanna
fucking
check that out
artwork
myself.
Like this old artwork kind of is just like my vibe. So can't wait to wear that one. That might just be on Monday. I don't know. We have a hydrate. Thank you, Aki, for the check-in.
Ooh. Thank you kindly. Much appreciated.
All right. New set of dice at Hot Topic. Man, I didn't even know Hot Topic still sold dice.
Do they really?
I guess so.
I'm not gonna lie.
Poured into Soul, they do.
Get you some.
All right, so chatting with chat. So before y'all start telling us what y'all want us to hear us talk about, or more questions, whatever you guys want, it's going to be up to you guys after this. But in light of all of the interactions I've been doing on TikTok with the recent videos, I started to get a sense and a feeling from the community that I think it's just finally ready for us to talk about, because I know that we've mentioned this before. I even think we had like a partial episode on it. But I feel like it's a good enough topic to at least, rehash anyway. because we've joked about it. It's kind of just been on everybody's mind, especially because, everything's starting to be released. But, with the new D&D 2024 materials and the rule sets finally starting to come out, it's really interesting because, for a while we've been joking about the transition phase, right? We've been, kind of just talking about how people are like frantic to figure out what's going to happen. Players are expectations and all of that. And we've seen a lot of people who got their hands on the books doing the comparisons, doing the, what's changed videos. But what I want to talk about, at least, kind of openly here, is just, I want to, and this is with you guys, chat you guys too. I like chime in as well. It's the importance. I want to talk about the importance of keeping up with rule sets. And I don't want to mean that in a way to sound like I want to go in favor of it. It's not the importance as in I want to talk about why it is important. I want to talk about the importance as in what is the importance of it? Is it important? How valuable is that importance? That's what I want to basically kind of preface, because, anybody who's been here for long enough, you all know High Point is based in fundamentally second edition with aspects of everything, right? But again, it's because I like more narrative gameplay. I like the mechanics a little bit better, and the way that I've adopted them, just feels like a little bit more of an open, achievable game than this very mechanical, approach to min-maxing, right? Which is not a problem. It's just not the way that I like the game. And I like the fact that I can take from all of the different editions. I like the fact that I can read 3.5 and Pathfinder and first edition and fifth edition and go, I like that feat. I like that spell. I like that class ability. I like the fact that players can do this. I like that rule set better. I like how dice work over here better. And then I can make my game based on D&D rules. But the thing that I know that people have the most problem with is that's fine, especially for new players or players that, aren't really hard on it. But I understand the difficulty for a lot of people is that it makes consistency difficult, especially when you have the ability to go out and play games with other DMs, play games with other gaming groups, or even follow D&D content online. Like, it's hard for me sometimes to follow D&D content online when I don't follow 5e. Like, I don't play 5e as much as I do second edition, right? So the content doesn't what's the word I'm looking for?
Affect you as much. It's not like very directly related to you and your gameplay.
Exactly, right? It doesn't resonate with me. So that's where it's kind of like, now that I'm in the comments, like one of the stitch that I did, it was breaking down Theater of the Unaligned's Assassin Hexblade Paladin.
Oh, yeah.
And basically, I just wanted to do a video where I'm like, okay, the whole video was essentially that I took it as in here's an insane build. So I'm like, okay, what would be the bare minimum? What would you need based on only the information you gave me? Those three classes, and I had 3 classes, 3 abilities, and an output of damage. And my job, I just wanted to figure out what would be bare minimum needed to get there, right? And there's people in comments like talking about how it could have been better, or kind of missing the point of it. They're like, well, you forgot to do this. It would have added so much more damage. And I'm like, it wasn't supposed to. Like, it was supposed to just prove that amount of damage was achievable with very basics, right? Like, of course I could have, min-max the hell out of it, but that wasn't the point, right? The point was, can that thing that they said do the thing that they said it did? But beyond that, it's interesting because there was a lot of comments, even one just right before we went live, that are very indicative of the fact that people are nitpicking 2024 and 2014 rule sets, right? I obviously did that stitch with 2024 rules. I did the research with 2024 rules, so because that's the most common, right? It's what is still the mainstream. Even though 2024 is being published and being available, 2014 is still considered, like, in my opinion, it's still the standard right now. But it is interesting that a lot of those comments are coming out doing the nitpickiness, the corrections. Well, that's not able to be done anymore. Or it should have been like this, or I don't understand. Like I used a finesse weapon because, again, in 5th edition, 2014, finesse is what is allowed to use on, what allows you to use sneak attack. You have to use a finesse weapon to do sneak attack. And the weapon I chose had finesse, but it was the highest damaging finesse weapon. It was a rapier, so 1d8. but like someone tried to like quote the new finesse rules, and like all finesse gets to do is like adjust your dexterity or strength modifier. So why is this even a thing? And it's just like,
well, so what the rule is, so like similar to barbarians, they have to have strength-based attacks. Rogues have to have dexterity-based attacks, and the only way you can have a dexterity-based attack with a melee weapon is if it has finesse, right? And so the idea is you're using your dexterousness to be sneaky to get into these like hard to reach areas. Like, are you gonna take a hammer, a war hammer, and get sneak attack with this giant thing? Are you gonna
yeah.
Great sword?
No, I get it, but the way that but it's a lot of people quoting like the newer rules and trying to say like the things that we talk about aren't available anymore, right? Like even in the comments that weren't towards me or the short, like there's conversations, which was actually really cool to see. There's full-on conversations happening in the comments there. But like even people, again, they're arguing with each other about what certain things mean and the definitions, or well, you know, that's not how it works anymore. And it gets to me because I'm just like, it's not so much about who's right and who's wrong. I'm not getting into that, right? That's not what we're about. We're not, Misfit Gamer Studios is not about right and wrong. But it just
much so, exactly.
It really, I see all that confrontation and I'm starting to just wonder, how important is it? Like really, like with a game like D&D, right? Like there's other games and other scenarios, like there's other ways we could talk about why it's important to keep up to date. But with something like D&D, right? When you have stories, campaigns, and players and DMs alike who have been playing for so long on so many different variations, it's like, I don't mind people I can argue about why like 2nd edition, 3rd edition, or 5th edition. I get the separation, but that mindset of you have to be, if you're not up to date, it's wrong. Like it's not just about edition anymore. It's about, but this is what it said, right? So it's almost like part of the community is now saying 5th edition 2014 is dead because 2024 is rewritten it. Therefore, that's no longer valid. So anytime you say, well, this is what the rule is, if it didn't come from the 2024 rule book, we're over. And it's like, it's going to get kind of confusing and really frustrating if people have to start literally being like 2014, 14, 24, 14, 24. Which one are you? Like, it's just one of that. It's like that point to where it's going to get very convoluted very quick. And I don't, there's not going to be an easy way. I think it's just going to divide. I think eventually everyone will shift to 2024, but again, importance of it, like that's the conversation at hand.
I'll say this. I really do think that what the community ends up saying, and as however this might sound, like really doesn't matter. And at the end of the day, like I feel like that's what we always talk about is we choose to play the game the way that we enjoy playing the game. And if you and your players are enjoying playing the game, then you're doing it right. So like there's nothing that the community, like there's no way that they could tell you, oh, that's out of date. You're not allowed to, I'm allowed to do whatever I want. I'm allowed to play the game that I want. And if I like the rules from 2014, then I'm gonna use those rules. If I like the rules from 2024, I'll use those rules. If I like the rules, like at the end of the day, it's just, what do you like? Like, that's the whole purpose of getting together. Now, I understand people wanting to have a standard that they bring to the table. Like, when we think moving forward about building homebrew, right? When we think about when we're trying to figure out, is this going to be balanced in this world? Are we going to take into consideration the foundation of 2024 rules? Because as of right now, I would say that the way we have been doing like things like homebrew review has been taking the foundation of 5th edition, i.e. 2014 5th edition.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%.
So if like the question I would ask us is, do we plan on continuing forward with 2024 as a new baseline, or do we plan on continuing forward with the 2014
and that's
the baseline that we've always had?
And that's going to be excuse me, that's going to be a big question for our future too, because it's like my gut reaction is I want it to be based off the community, right? If they submit us something that's 2014 build, based off of like how the subclasses were built then, we could just go off of that. But there's going to be a point to where we're not going to be able to do that anymore, right? We're going to either learn so much about 2024 that we're going to have too much crossover, we're going to commingle that information, or it's going to get to the point to where we're going to be doing too much research trying to figure out, oh, well, wait, which version of the spell are we using? Let's read both of them, right? So it's like, yeah, naturally speaking, we're probably just going to have to slowly update, as just as we did, like just as I do now with basic 5th edition, how I've done it over the last couple of years learning 5th edition. I'm just going to have to just use the resources as they're available. And as 2024 comes available, of course, we'll be using that. I mean, I'm sure, 5e, wiki, like the 5e tools that we use. I'm sure that all of those will get updated with 2024 updates. And then that's going to be our reference point, right? It's going to be a long time before what we remember or what we think is right is actually right. But yeah, it's like, I know that for the quality of content, we'll keep up with it, but I don't know. I feel like just the idea of keeping it so important, as in, the idea of just like arguing a rule set of like, it doesn't work that way anymore. And it's like, but it should be the choice, right? Like I agree with you. It should be the choice, not the expectation.
How challenging of a time do you feel that you have when it comes to discussing 5th edition coming from a 2nd edition mindset?
It was very difficult at first. It's a lot easier now. Things are more natural, especially after I ran the Discord. Like having run a game in 5th edition several times really helped us. Doing the reviews has really helped like sink in that progress. So I'm not worried, and I'm not talking about like importance for us. Like I'm not really worried about onboarding. This was more of like a community discussion of like, how important is it that the community look at updates as, we need to keep up with it. That was more of the conversation, not so much like it's going to come to us as it comes, right? Like I'm just assuming that as the resources become more available, when we search something, when we Google it here on stream, we're probably just going to start seeing more 2024, like determinations. The harder part is going to be all of like the Reddit searching, the Reddit forums. All of those are going to take a while to update with 2024 stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm very interested because I think that especially with the way we've done things, how valuable do you think that it would be? Because for me, I really want, I've talked to you before about wanting to have that like comparison, to be able to see the two things side by side. But how valuable would it be for us to do a series? I mean, again, I know a lot of people have content out there already, but just for us, just kind of like a familiarization of the difference of the different things. We can choose to go over like foundational or big or little things, but when it comes to like what our community looks like now, when you ask about community, are you specifically referring to our community or the D&D?
No, I'm just talking about just the D&D community, right? Because it's like, there are some games that, you have to keep up with because there's like official rules, right? Like there's like Magic the Gathering, right? That's a game that you have to keep up with if you want to play in the if you want to play in the real world. Like you could just have a Magic deck at your house and play with your buddies whenever you want. That's any game can be done that way, right? But if you want to like actually keep up with like the general populace of Magic the Gathering, you have to keep up buying the new cards, keep up with new rules. Some cards get banned, some cards come back, right? So that's one of those games where it makes sense that if you get into that, you're going to keep up, right? And there's strict rules by that. But it's like, again, with that mindset of the D&D community, I don't know how important it is that the D&D community have the same expectations, right? Like I don't think personally, not just because we're very fluid in terms of like what editions we'll play or run, but in general, I don't think, I've never really thought that idea of, a new book dropped and it changed that spell, therefore that's how the spell works, period. That's that feeling of, I mean, that uncomfort has what's always driven me to make High Point a amalgamation of all of the editions, right? It's the best of everything. the idea that they came out with a, I don't look at it as a new or a replacement way the spell works. I just look at it as an alternative. And that's why when like these new books are coming out and people are like, well, that doesn't work that way anymore, so you can't use it. Like, oh, Eldritch, or like, Divine Smite doesn't work that way anymore, can't use it that way. Sneak Attack doesn't work that way. Like, it's like shutting it outright is like basically saying, again, it harkens back to when I first tried to play D&D and for all of those years as a kid and kept getting pushed aside of, if you don't own the books, if you don't play by the module, you can't play. And it's like, but this is a creative game. We're supposed to tell a story. And they're like, no, the book tells you how to play. And it's like, right, but the story, and they're like, the book tells you the story. And it's like,
okay,
that's what pushed me away in the first place. And I'm feeling that vibe again. I'm feeling this vibe of, the new book, the New Testament is out, and we should all immediately migrate. And it's, I don't feel like it's a choice anymore, right? Like, I don't really feel like we're like, people are treating it as an alternative. And I don't mean this is a greater community, right? This is a very small subset. I mean, out of probably the 1,000 comments, this might be like 20 comments, but it's just one of those things where I feel like that is becoming more and more of a thing as I watch, like YouTube videos and things of that sort about the new 2024 content. Is it just seems like there is a growing subset of people in the greater D&D community that are kind of hearkening back to those old days of stick to the book, stick to the module, everything else, isn't real D&D. And like, I'm not saying it's that bad yet, but I'm like, I feel like it's not important. I don't know if, yes, I love the new books and I love what they're doing, but I just don't know if I want to. I don't think it's good for the greater community to look at those as automatic replacements. I just feel like it's more healthy if we just look at it as yet another better alternative. Because at least that way, when it's looked at as a better alternative, it's an easier transition than everything you've ever known is done. Forget what you've known, restart with this. And it's like, some things are easier, they're easier transitions, but some things they've butchered, completely changed. And it's like, how am I supposed to retroactively fit that into all of this story and into all of these things? I mean, I have things planned that I've planned for months that won't work now because these abilities that you've changed, my NPCs can't do these things now. You know what I mean? Like, you could have had had a BBEG encounter months in advance that now no longer works because 2 of the spells are completely rewritten and your players won't accept the old version, right? I know that's an extremist mindset, but that's the vibe I get from some of these people. And
that is definitely the attitude I think a lot of people are going to approach this with. And unfortunately, I feel like just in general, the way we look at things, and I feel like honestly this extends past D&D itself, but I think that a lot of people feel like they need to choose a side. They need to be like, hey, we're the D&D purists, and hey, we're the D&D amalgamationers, or whatever the case is. Like, there are too many attitudes that, hey, if you're not a part of my camp, then screw you, or no, you're wrong, or get out of here. Like, and I'm like, there's too much of that already. There's too much of that everywhere already. I wish we could focus more on like, hey, I really like this, and this is what makes it good. Like, that's kind of what I feel like what we do when we do homebrew review is like, even though you're not playing in 5th edition, a lot of the stuff we read from 5th edition, it's like, yo, I like this, and this is what makes it good, and I want to. That is genuinely what I believe, like, the attitude the overall community could approach just all of D&D with. And it would...
I mean, I can't not agree with you on that one, but no, it's interesting that you bring that up too, because when, as you say that, it just makes me think that I would like to think, without, trying to, like, talk myself up or anything, I would like to think that what you just mentioned, from someone who is so invested in 2nd edition and so, it just has that mindset from, Forgotten Realms and keeps, my character progression is probably, I mean, my player progression and leveling up isn't a 2nd edition based, right? Like you've experienced that. Like, it's very customizable beyond what even 2nd edition allows. It feels more like again, I feel like at this point, my character creation feels more like what like a more customizable subclass that 5th edition has, right? Like a more way to control the subclass level to level. But being able to be that way, right? Having someone who comes from a second edition realm and gaming platform to be able to do a weekly homebrew review of 5th edition mechanics and bring the mindset of what is balance, what is it? Because to me, it's, I feel like it just harkens to the idea that is the greater idea of D&D. We're not there to memorize all of 5th edition mechanics and how things work when we talk about balance. We talk about balance in the approach of usage, how it's going to feel, both from the DM, from the player's point of view, using it, having it used against you. We look at it in terms of the overall effect of the game itself and of the gameplay, not the hard mechanics of what are the numbers. Do these numbers match the every other spell that's equal to it, right? We look at it as what is the actual impact. And I feel like that harkens more to that, storytelling side that we have. We're much more about the narrative, the gameplay, the plot points, and less about the hard rules and mechanics. Not that we don't have rules, not that we don't follow the rules, but it's the approach of it is much more about the story, the campaign, and the plot, and the player's experience, and much less about the specifics of, well, which version of the spell are we going to use? It's like, honestly, what version makes the most sense for your character, right? If you want to learn the silence spell, but you don't know if you want to use 1st edition, 2nd edition, or 5th edition, well, let's figure it out then. Let's talk about it, and both of us will come to an agreement on which version of the spell. Instead of saying, well, this is the current version, so that's the only version available, I prefer to look at it as, well, what makes the most sense, right? If one version of the spell just has verbiage that doesn't quite make sense for high point, I'll say that's not the version that exists. But if there's another version that's like, hey, there's these two versions, they both do roughly the same thing, but this version works with your background more because of the way that it actually does things. Or, hey, this version over here has more range. You mentioned that your family, specialized in ranged combat. Guess what? You're going to use this spell because it makes more sense that you would be able to cast the further ranged version, right? That's my approach to it. And definitely a lot harder than for a lot of DMs to do that. But yeah, it's just, I think that, bringing that up, the fact that we can do 5th edition and even you play in 5th edition, but you have a much more creative, unique approach to DMing and running a campaign. But you can easily sit here and work with me on the hard mechanics, running through what does the actual class, belong in, what are equal level spells. You can compare and go, hey, spells at the same level roughly have this damage, or this spell is equal level, does that damage, right? So even though that's not how you game, you don't game that way. You are not, let's look at the book. You don't even do that when your kids want to make a spell. You don't look at an equal spell and go, well, this spell does this, so your spell does that. You just let them make it up on the spot, but it doesn't prevent you from approaching balance mechanically, right? And I think that just harkens to a greater idea of being creative, being more of a storyteller, and not just a storyteller, but just being more dynamic and open to the approach of the game, right? And not being a stickler for the rules. Because I do feel like I think both sides have like the excessive, right? Like it's a scale. If you are too much of a storyteller.
Exactly.
If you are far too much of a storyteller, all your game is a choose your own adventure with no actual game. It's just constant talking to NPCs and deciding what, it's literally walking through a town step by step. And those games can be interesting, but that's not D&D, right? And then you have the complete opposite side where it's, okay, today here's the battle. You guys are up against 15 goblins, go. All right, to next gaming session. Okay, after the goblins, here's 2 trolls, let's go. You know what I mean? Like, and that's like the other side, the full mechanical, where just, who cares? Just tell me what you bought, minus your gold, put your inventory in, and let's get to the next puzzle, the next combat.
Fight some things. Yeah.
Right. And, and that's where it's like, you want to feel, where is your balance? I'm definitely more on the storytelling. Like my storytelling is definitely more balanced, more weighted than my mechanics, but not by much. I would still say I'm very deep in my own mechanics and my foundations, but I would say I lean more towards the storytelling. But I do think that the more you lean towards not needing the books, that sounds like that's a bad thing. But the more you lean on the books, the more you lean on following the books, using the modules, I do understand how it's easy to fall into the mindset of a new book comes out and your mind goes, well, I'm on the books. I have to be on that book, right? Like I have to be up to date because that's what I use. And I can see why it would be difficult for people who are more oriented in the real rules to not be able to dynamically flip flop between them or make a transition. I can see why it's easier to just stick with what's current. But I don't know. As there are always going to be players and DMs that are like that. I wouldn't say that I would want any individual to not be that way, right? Like we want all types. But as a greater community, I don't know if that's a healthy thing for the greater community to have as our main focus of importance is what is the current, what is the current rule of law?
Well, I will say that what we've gotten now feels closer to 5.5 than a new version of D&D, which is nice because it feels at the very least compatible with 5th edition as a whole, so that you don't feel like you're having to like relearn an entirely new game. It feels like they're just adding extra features. And so I can definitely appreciate that. But again, just like you said, there's an extreme to that where it's like, hey, this is now the only way these features work. Like that I do think bothers me to a certain extent. Is it's like, okay, like if you want to set rules for your table, sure, but trying to claim to everyone in the entire community this is the only way that things work anymore, I feel like that's a hard sell, because there's going to be a lot of people that are just like, yo, I don't like the way Divine Smite works anymore. I don't like the way Wild Shape works anymore. I'd much rather, if I'm going to be a rules lawyer, rules as written, then the rule that I am going to be lawyering for is going to be 2014.
Mm-hmm.
While somebody else that might be a rules lawyer would be like, hey, the rules I'm going to be lawyering for are 2024 because it's the most recent. So I don't necessarily think that there's anything wrong with going in either direction. I just really believe that there's something for us to get out of everything that's out there. And it's not going to be the same thing for every person. Some people are going to be like, I want the whole thing, I want it all. And some people are going to be like, that right there is cool, but the rest of it,
yeah,
And
I hope, I'm very hopeful that it's not going to be that bad. I mean, again, this is a very small subset, but I do feel like the subset has grown. Sure, like I feel like it's having a reemergence. So
at the very least, we're seeing it a lot more, right?
Yeah. And again, I know that just because I am going online more, but yeah. I've seen it elsewhere in the community. So it's just one of those things. I wanted to just kind of talk about that. It's rules are good, but it's okay to stay with what you know until you're comfortable moving on, right? It doesn't have to be an overnight switch.
So very much so, which is why I like what we do. Like every time a homebrew gets the inspiration point, it's just like you got an unearthed arcana and you're like, oh, I like that rule set, I'm gonna add that, I'm gonna start using that. I like that crit rule, I'm gonna start using that, I'm gonna start doing things that way. Like I really appreciate what that kind of stuff looks like, and that's what I want to do. That's exactly what I want to do. I want to be like, oh my gosh, like one thing I'm telling you I'm stealing right now from 2024 is weapon mastery. Like, I'm not going to use it the same way, but I love the fact that every single weapon has a special ability that they can use. Like, they can do something that nobody else can do. Like, daggers get to a free attack with your bonus or without even using your bonus action. You get to push people back 10 feet when you're using a hammer. Like, stuff like that is so cool. Like and
those are the things that I try to capture in in all the customization that I did. So I'm probably going to be going through those as well. If not stealing those direct ones, at least using those as a baseline and being like, we're just going to add to that. Like whatever, again, kind of like again with Dov, being able to utilize Dov's abilities the way that you chose to, right, isn't necessarily intended for every player. That's kind of what
Right.
these are. These are intended for every player who picks up a hammer, which makes sense. But I kind of also want to expand it and be like, well, what are you going to do with the hammer? So yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. And, I think it always comes back down to, ironically, I can always bring it back down to, one of the bigger things that I've talked about before. It sounds worse than I mean it to, but it's the best title that I can. It's that player entitlement. And it's like I think the biggest people who, like, the biggest proponent of people who are not necessarily sticklers for the rules, not rules lawyers, but the ones who are combative about what rules you need to use, I think are the ones that are entitled to expectations, right? They have expectations of how the game's going to be played, how things are going to fall out. And because I can imagine like having a conversation with some of these people being like, oh, well, yeah, I understand that Divine Smite, changed. So someone like me, I'm probably going to just be like, depending on the god you follow will depend on what Divine Smite you get. Like, honestly, that's probably what I'm going to end up doing. I'm just going to take all versions of Divine Smite and be like, honestly, they all have their purpose. I don't necessarily agree that there just has to be only one version of this for every god. So I just feel like I can just pick the ones I like that actually mechanically work the best. And then I can just divvy it out between, again, make it make sense for the character. If you follow a certain god and, Divine Smite works best in one direction from their point of view, that makes sense. But I could see people getting mad about that. And I think the only reason they'd get mad is because they either A, can't control it, or B, that's not what it's not their expectations. And that's kind of also that min-maxer mindset where if everybody's not using the one same rule, like if that character can have a different Divine Smite than my character, then I can't guarantee my character stronger, right? It's like, it's not fair. It's like, but if I don't have access to that, right? If they follow a god that has that one, but I didn't know about that, so I couldn't have chosen that god. And it's like, because you're thinking ahead. You're thinking too much about your min-max and not about your character growth. And that's, again, my difference, right? I'm okay having these different variations not accessible to everybody, right? Like you've talked about like player agency. I'm all there for player agency, but it's kind of like the conversations and the arguments that we've seen on some of our videos about alignment, where people are really like either just on the bandwagon that alignment is a completely useless or alignment's completely wrong. And it's interesting because, again, it's like the expectation of what it should be versus what it just, kind of does. And being able to, choose something but feel like it has limitations. It's like, that's the whole point about the character build though, right? You don't choose it preemptively to make all your pre-decisions. You choose it because that's how you're going to play it, right? A good character shouldn't be limiting you in your gameplay. You should have chosen a good character because it's going to basically lead you in that direction, right? That's the game. That's the direction you want a game. That's the direction that you wanted to play the character. But if you're just choosing it because of a scenario that's going to benefit you, right? Like, that's where I think those people can get mad when their expectations aren't met. So I can easily see that where one of those people would get mad at someone like me when I say, oh, they actually use Divine Smite differently than you do. We would just get totally mad. Like, if two clerics met in the battlefield and two of them used Divine Smite differently, I can see some people getting mad at that because that's not fair. And it's like, why not? Their god works differently. Like.
I think that comes down to, because I do believe that you're right, but I do think that player entitlement can go both ways. I do believe there could be such a thing as a DM dictatorship.
Yes,
right?
I'm not going to argue with that either.
DM just wants things to be the way that they want it to be, and if you do something creative and that works and that goes against what they thought it was going to be, then no, you can't do that, or no, I'm not going to allow that. Or they just want things to be one way, and so I very much think that
they want to have that
had an understanding.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I didn't really think about that, but the fact that the DM can easily turn that, and I can understand that, knowing what the rule sets are, saying, hey, I use it like this, and the DM can't, railroad me out of it. I get that, being that side of being a rules lawyer, right? Being like, hey, this is what it does. This is what I, expected to do. I totally get that. But that's where I also like, that just comes down to game dynamics, I think, right? Party dynamics.
Yeah.
And
yes,
I think that for us being DMs, I think we would just call that a conversation. Like, here's how we get to an amenable spot, because yes, things are going to work differently. And if you didn't know that I had different versions, that's fine. But it's like you have to get to some amenable spot instead of one side just stonewalling and being like, no, it's my way or not. And it's like, I get that people all want to be protected. Players want to be protected against railroady DMs, and DMs want to be, in control of their creations. But finding amenable pathways does not necessarily mean that either party has to surrender like something important, right? Like players don't necessarily have to, give up what's important to them, and DMs don't have to necessarily always, give up part of their story, right? Like you have to find the amenable path that isn't either side giving something up, but both of them coming to the right understanding. You know what I mean? It's not so, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not so much of a there's a word for this and it escapes me right now. Compromise. There we go. It's not so much about compromise, it's about understanding. That's actually so fucking great. We should quote that in the ADMG. That should be like when you open up the ADMG and it's like the intro or like the prelude to like the letter to the DMs and being like, hey, this is what this book's all about. I want that to be one of the first main quotes. It's not about compromise, it's about understanding, right? Because compromise means someone's giving something up, and it shouldn't be about that. Equilibrium is also good. Thank you, Cosmic. Equilibrium is also a great way to say that. But I think that we could turn that into something like just like a little blurb about like, what does that mean, right? And it's talking with your players. It's not about giving up how your world works or letting your players decide what rule sets you use. It's about explaining to them why it's important, getting them to understand it. And sometimes understanding doesn't mean you stonewall and say, well, it's my way or the highway, but it can lead to, hey, maybe I'm just not the DM for you, right? But there are ways to have that conversation and not make it feel like a stonewall, right? There are ways to understand. There are ways for players to approach it and go, this is why it feels like you and me. This is why it feels this way. And maybe it's just simply an understanding of, I see what you want to do. That's just not the way to do it. But let me explain to you how to get there. And then it's more of a, okay, so it's not going to happen the way I wanted it to, but it still can happen. And sometimes that's all it is, right? Sometimes it's just the player feeling like they're not able to get what they want, when sometimes it's just not the way they can get it.
Okay.
Oh, there you are.
No,
for some reason you were muted for a second.
Here for that. Rude. But yeah, no, I definitely like that. I took a note of that. Out of curiosity, I can't find like a timestamp. Like, how far into our stream are we right now?
110 or 111. 1 hour 11 minutes.
111.
Yeah, I don't know. There should be one on like the actual stream. I don't know. If you go to your mod settings, you might have a setting to where you can there's a clip setting, but if you go to your mod side, you might be able to do what's it called? It's like a flag. You could basically like almost like set a waypoint in the video, so it doesn't like clip it, but it does like it just tells you had an important part. I don't know if you have that or if only I do, but there might be a way that you can.
I see a button that says clip.
So that's just getting like the last 30 seconds. Okay, I'll have to look into that and find a way. But you should have a stream counter on your mod side too, like your session time.
I probably do. I just don't know. Oh, there it is. Yep, I see it. Stream session. Got it.
All right, so that was all I had, guys. I just wanted to kind of vent on that and just kind of bring it out because it was just one of those things I've been seeing, and that was just my hot take for today. So what's next? It's all up to you guys on what we're chatting about. We are chatting with y'all. It was supposed to be more of a back and forth, but I guess it was just back and forth between me and Kage. Let's face it was mainly just me talking. I think I just needed to get off that off my chest. Maybe that was it.
No, it was definitely good. I agree. I think there's a lot to that. Like I said, I don't think it would be a bad idea for us to do some sort of series where we look at specific elements. You know, we don't have to go through like the whole book, the whole DMG, the whole player's handbook, like absolutely every difference, but just primary differences, like big pieces that have changed, you know. Maybe look at how wild shape has changed, look at how smites have changed, you know. Maybe
Oh, you know what?
that we care about, you know.
I know exactly what we can do to start this out to make it a little more palatable and easier to document, because you have, I believe, have the ongoing list of all of the history ofs, correct?
I do indeed.
We can start there. Maybe we add in a series where if we don't want to do like a full history of, maybe we do updates to the history of, where we look at what we've already talked about. Like you said, druid wild shape. We talk about like bards. We've talked about a lot of things about history. So now we can do an updated history of, where we just talk about, like, do a quick summary of what we talked about before, and then get into what's changing between the two 5th editions. And it just can start us off.
Okay, and then any future history ofs will include the 2024 as
exactly
like the end of it type deal.
Exactly, and we'll just bring it up to date. Okay. So because as 2024 materials come available, I will be able to add that into the history of, right? Because kind of right now, I basically any history of we'll have to kind of have a caveat of changing soon, but we can do that as an we can start with what we've already done. And because again, that's going to teach us how to look up the new materials, figure out what we need to get. I wouldn't mind getting my hand on one of the new books, just because, you know, why not? So yeah, I like this idea. Let's start with the history of. We'll do an update series. Oh my god, we can call it history since, because we did history of, and then we'll call it history since.
Nice.
I like that.
Very nice.
Because it's still a history of, but it's like, you know, it's since the new 5th edition. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I like this. God, we come up with good ideas. Chat, you're talking too much. Quiet it down, okay? I can't keep up.
How dare.
I mean, look at all of this movement. Who could possibly keep up with this much chat? All right, I gotta step away, use the restroom, entertain the folks, Kage. Hopefully you can get a comment or a topic out of them, because it's up to them to tell us what we're talking about. So hopefully they know what they want to hear. I'm gonna go grab water.
Well, I know Cosmic definitely wants to talk about some of his items, but I am excited to just see in general some of the homebrew that we have upcoming. Tell me I'm wrong, Cosmic. Tell me I'm wrong. But I really think that there's a lot that you guys do here that is so cool. And again, this is in addition to what I said earlier about, you know, we enjoy what we do. A large part of what we do is to get input's the wrong word, but like get information from you guys, to like get your perspective. Perspective is the word, because I really feel like, you know, if I'm just sitting here thinking that I'm doing D&D perfectly, I am missing out on a lot. I cannot tell you how much I've learned from just my players, some of which who've never played D&D before, just coming up with like wild ideas. And I'm like, I freaking love that. I want that to be real. And I make it, right? You know, the toast religion was for sure one of them, you know? And so I think when it comes to the evolution of what we do as players or DMs, like, I think there's a lot to be said about just how to go about it, because too often we are sitting around and it's hard. We get stuck in our own routines. We get stuck in our own bubbles of just what we've done and what works, and then we don't really move out of it much, if at all. But when I get perspective from you guys as as fellow DMs, as fellow players, as just fellow D&D enthusiasts about the stuff that you like, the stuff that you don't like, the stuff that you see that's cool, I love Pokeniners always giving us perspective on every single homebrew review. Whether we agree with what he's saying or not, we get to see what he's talking about. We get to see what he means, what he likes, what he doesn't like, and where his perspective's coming from. I loved that
the discourse
that he sent us. Yeah, very much so. He sent us a link about like how to structurally build classes, and I cannot tell you how invaluable that's going to be for me moving forward, because it's going to be like, I've always wanted like a decent foundation. Like, how do I start? Like, what's a jumping off point? It's not like I'm going to use it as my Bible, but at the same time, it's a great way to get myself headed down the right road towards something that I want to build, something that makes sense, something that's tangible, if that makes sense. So I don't know. I very much appreciate what our community has brought to the table, and
we have an awesome community.
It's
as small and young as it is. Like we haven't even been around 2 years yet, but no, I'm absolutely loving where we're going with it. Some people have certain expectations of growth, but I'm comfortable with where we're at, how much we've been growing, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to bringing more voices and, more ideas into the chat, more opinions. Want it to be peaceful, but it's like, it would just be great to, have, more cosmics and more souls in the chat, more Pokeniners that are pushing at least our ideas or our boundaries. I mean, I know Pokeniner, especially when we review his stuff, he's, usually in there just flooding chat with a bunch of stuff. And I know we don't get to it all, but I read it, I skim it and I make sure that I understand like what his perspective is. Sometimes we don't have anything to comment on, or, we're just kind of, trying to roll through it on time. But it's great because sometimes I will see, others in chat going back and forth and having additional conversations. I know, Cosmic and Pokeniner go back and forth quite a bit. So I'm definitely, it's great to see who we're gathering in. I mean, I find it hilarious that we're getting people on their own that also happen to know others in our community. So I always found that, very interesting that at least we're, I think it's like we're in a good space, when you're running into the same people, you're in a good space. So I'm hopeful that that's going to continue.
Okay. I am as well. And, especially being fortunate enough to be the one who gets to see and take a look at all of the homebrews that coming in through the pipeline. It is so fun getting to look at all the different ways that people come up with things and just seeing what people do and make. And it's straight up phenomenal. Like, I am so freaking here for it. So please keep it coming. I know we have so freaking much coming down the freaking pipeline. What do we got? Like 37 more that we have yet to review.
Absolutely phenomenal.
I'm so here for it. And
imagine when that says 300.
Put in the goodness gracious,
Yeah.
We've 82. We've almost hit our 100 mark. Now again, this is not just viewer submitted. Like, there are D&D Beyond and some other things in there, but when we get to 100 submissions just by viewers, that's gonna be
a great. Honestly, I'm okay doing this. If we want to, let's set this milestone. We'll put it in the admin chat to remind ourselves. When we hit 100 submissions from viewers, let's scrub the leaderboard of all non-community submissions. We can just separate those to a side leaderboard, and that can be the classic leaderboard, or that'll just be the outside.
5.
Yeah.
The next 5 we get, we will have hit 100 viewer submissions.
So let's do that. We will plan on, when that happens, we will scrub the leaderboard of all non-community submissions. Those will go to just a separate leaderboard. So we'll still have the information. But I think the leaderboard should only be the community from now on.
Sure.
Once we hit to 100, then we can truly say here are the top 100. I like that. All right, so going into chat, we have a couple things. Yeah, that's gonna be some fun. But hey, we got 5, so we got till at least January. Don't worry about it.
You say at least January. Someone could submit 5 tomorrow. So I will say.
No, I mean like 5 review or 100 reviewed. Once there's 100 reviewed of community on the sheet. So once we've reviewed 100 community submissions, we will take off all of the non-community ones. So then the leaderboard is 100% community based, but only when we've reviewed 100.
Well, then
we got a while.
Only theoretically reviewed 58.
Okay, so see, we still got some time, but that's I think will be the best thing is once we're there. But yeah, we got time. We got plenty of time. Okay, so Cosmic, curious about Monday's stream. How's that going to work? So what I plan on doing, Cosmic, for Monday's stream is I'm going to go over the previous review that I did. I'm going to make a bunch of notes in terms of, because I'm not going to just go over both items. So what I'll probably end up doing is figuring out the major adjustments, making kind of notes on the original review, what I said about, any major, plot points that I said. So if I suggested a change or considered something was in balance, out of balance, I'll just make those notes for each part that I go through and kind of give myself a summary of what the item does. And then as I do the review up to date, I might even have it, your old one on the side. But basically, as I go through, I will make reference to what was, because we know that this is going to be a re-review. I don't really want to spend so much time showing every little minute change, but I do want to mention like, hey, so, it's level, I don't know, what are we reviewing? Is it a class, weapon?
Is a tome, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it's a tome. So a spellcasting focus.
Right. So yeah. So it's like, if I said like it's a weapon focus. So yeah. So if I say like, oh, the damage, again, I don't remember what it was, but if I said, hey, the damage should be increased, I'll have that on my notes list. So I say, hey, you're bringing up to damage. Hey, so last time I thought it should be increased. It looks like it was this, and this time now it's saying this. Right. So in those cases, I can do a quick reference, mention what it was before. But if it were like, let's say a race or something or a subclass, I wouldn't read out both of the level 3 abilities. I would just say last time the level 3 ability lets you do grapple maneuver, and I thought that was too powerful. But this ability, let's read it out. And then I would read out the whole new ability and be like, oh, it's not a grapple anymore. So I want to at least be able to reference some parts of what was, so we understand what you've changed and what my determination was before. Like I had, whether or not I thought it should be too powerful, less powerful.
What you said,
yeah. And then basically I'll have that summarized. So as I'm going through it, hopefully we'll be able to have a side by side. And yeah, and if it's not a whole lot, maybe I will pull up both of them. I'm thinking of it mainly through the prism of subclasses, because that's what we get the most of. And if I get a re-review of a subclass, I'm not going to do a side by side of 2 of them. But like an item, a weapon, a spell, I could probably pull both of them up side by side and then have my notes on what I said originally. So we could be like, hey, here's what it was. Here's what we reviewed. And, let's look at what we now think of.
I don't remember what the first one was, but the second one at least is a single pager. So if that's helpful at all in your assessment. So it's only 1 page. So I don't know. I think that's doable.
Yeah, well, and Cosmic's saying that some things were removed too. So again, I might be able to pull them up side by side. It just depends on once I look at the old one. And again, I try to refrain from looking at any of the new ones. So I want to do that for this as well. So, because it would be too easy for me to just look at it both side by side and just basically write a script, but I don't want to do that. So yeah, so I will make a bunch of notes about what I talked about last time, and we'll try to just roll with that as a side by side. And as for your second comment, I would not be able to do dreadlocks. One, my hair is far too thin and too straight, and definitely not long enough. I do believe that you need definitely a lot more, I think, curly hair for what Kage has going on.
It definitely makes it a lot easier theoretically, yeah, but you'd have to do a lot of work.
Yeah, like mine would be fucking tiny.
Wasn't curly enough. If you remember, for your and Vixie's wedding, I had dreadlocks, right? And like that process to get that set up my sister had to actually go in and use like this like crochet hook to actually get
Yeah.
everything to so like it's a whole thing. It's a
But
whole
you have
thing.
to have hair that will already help naturally. Like my hair wouldn't do that naturally. It would take so much to get it to do that and destroy it. Whereas with any level of curly hair, it does help the bunching up and it helps actually make the the
Yeah,
threads.
very much so.
So that's kind of the thing. I would never be able to pull it off just because if I did, I'd probably have like one go right here and then one go right here and then one go right there and then I'd have nothing in between because my hair is so thin. I mean, literally, because it takes so much hair to make a single one, depending on how I mean, that's why usually when you see it on white guys, it's like you'll see like they'll have like you'll be able to count them. They'll be like, oh, you have like 6, and then there's no hair in between them because there's just not enough hair to actually like cover it all. So I probably would never try. Plus, it just seems so
Wild.
painful to do. Seems like it is not a comfortable
It
experience.
was it was definitely painful. I'm not gonna lie. Especially initially. After a while, I got a little used to it. But even braiding is not the easiest. Like when I had my hair rebraided this last time, it was a challenge because we left it in for a little bit longer than anticipated, and so, um, like some of my hair, because it had been in for so long, started to dread, and so like taking that out, combing through it and all that stuff and getting ready for it to be like braided smoothly again, it was a whole thing. It was a whole thing. So um no, I totally get it. I totally get it. It's not necessarily for everyone, but it'd be what it be.
Yeah. Well, again, it's the amount of hair that you have to make it work. I think that's the other thing that people don't realize is it's not just the type of hair that massively helps, but it's a lot of it. Like your hair doesn't seem very long
Right.
until you do this, right? Like your hair doesn't, usually lay past your shoulders just because it has so much volume. But when you do this, it's like it seems like your hair is longer. Your hair is longer than mine is, but it doesn't seem like that when you don't have it,
Very much so.
when you don't have
Very
it in
much
your
so.
dreads. So yeah, it's absolutely crazy. It's that perspective thing of it's kind of like
Yeah.
completely random like like or completely random like analogy, but it's like when you see two people like sitting, like if you've ever seen two people sitting down next to each other and they look like they're the same height, but if they're built differently, it's interesting. Like if you have someone who has like if they're built more where their torso's longer and their legs are shorter, but then you put them with somebody whose legs are longer and has a shorter torso, they sit down and they're the same height, but then they stand up and there's a complete like difference. Or it just goes from one to the other. One looks shorter, but then they stand up and they're actually taller. It's like it's kind of like that in terms of like hair, right? It's like certain hairstyles require more than you think to be able to pull off. I mean, I've tried multiple types before. I mean, I've tried, before I started shaving and just putting it back, I've tried, different lengths, and there are certain lengths my hair just absolutely can't do. Like, no matter what I do, there are just certain lengths, both short and to this stage, that just at certain points, I basically just want to wear a hat because there's just nothing I can make it do to benefit. And it's kind of weird. You know what I mean? Like I can go a full buzz cut, but then right around like the 1/2 inch to 1 inch mark, my hair just gets unruly and I can't do anything with it. And then once it gets past 1 inch, it starts to become manageable again. And it's just like, why that 1/2 inch growth just decides, I don't know what I want to do. I'm done. Get away from me. And I'm just like, okay, that sucks. But that's why I like this. I finally got down to this one. And yeah, I've kept, how long have I had this one? 2019, 2020. When did I start doing music? It was whenever I recorded my first song. I did this cut for the studio session because I knew I needed like pictures for
Really?
yeah, that like the whole thing was for my booth persona, because like I wanted a new look. I mean, just getting into music and everything, like just getting into the communities, and I wanted a new look. I wanted like basically I wanted an image, right? I didn't just want me. I mean, this is back when I was growing out my beard right before that, when I was like writing the songs. I just had like a bushy ass beard. My hair was just nasty. So I was like, I wanted like a good image to represent my music. So yeah, I ended up coming up with this one. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do the one side. I thought I was only just going to do the left side at first. But then after a while, I was just like, nah.
That would have been interesting.
It would have been, but I was just like, nah, I'm just going to go both sides. I really liked this idea. Because it's funny. Ironically, I wear it more often the way that my emote is, with it usually back, right? Like usually I wear it like this, which is 90% of like my day. Like I just, if I'm at home, I have it down. If I'm out and about, I have it like this. And I love this. This is just very me. But ironically, I got this haircut not for this style, not for this look. I actually got it because of the sideways part. Like I got this cut specifically to do this and actually like have it look good and be able to do this. This was the booth persona that I wanted. This was the image that I wanted in the booth. So the whole point was to have the shaved sides and all the way around, but it made it a lot easier to do it like this. So yeah, so this was supposed to be when I was doing music like that. I would always just wear my hair like this because it was also easier to be in a booth and not have like, you know, like my left eye is basically blind. I'm like near blind in my left eye anyway. So I don't really do anything with my left eye. So it's like if I'm reading my lyrics, my hair would always get in both of my faces, like both my eyes. I would just get all the way in my face, get in the way of my mic and everything. So it was like, at least with its, you know, one side, a lot more manageable. I always just read out of my right eye anyway. And I like the look. I just thought it looked cool. So I liked this for a while. But yeah, it had to have been 2019 or 2020 that I finally made the cut and changed it. I'm gonna have to look at when I released, because I released my first song like 6 months after. No. I recorded it. I think I recorded in November. No, it wasn't that long because we worked on it for a while. I think I recorded in August or September and it released in December. It's been that long. Yeah, it's been over a year since I've released another song. Like I have, I don't know where my list. Oh yeah, my list is over there. I have 30-40 songs. Like half of them are either not finished or don't have the finished track because I didn't have an editor, and I can't make music on my own. But yeah, that's crazy. It's been over a year. That feels bad, man. That feels bad. I've been so busy with the house. Like I haven't released anything since I moved. Ever since we got the house, I haven't gotten anything out just because I just, you know, with this
lightweight be like that.
Oh yeah, between the house and this, I haven't recorded anything in forever, man. That feels bad. Suddenly this stream got a lot more depressing. But it just means I really haven't been in that mode and that focus. So I mean, I get it, but I'm gonna have to I might have to heat up the booth again. I mean, it's just sitting there. When was my first?
Hey.
When was
you were just talking to me about needing another project?
I mean, yeah, always. 2020. Yeah, that was when I recorded it. 2020.
Really? Wow.
Or no, 2021. Okay, so not that long. Okay, so 2021. That was when my first single dropped. Oh, look at that. Less than 1,000 listens on all of my songs.
Sick.
I'm more popular on TikTok than I am as a musician. That's funny. I mean, to be completely honest, I put way more effort into this over the last almost 2 years than I ever did in the 3 years I was doing music. But, that was more therapy.
We have had a lot more momentum, but yeah.
Oh yeah,
that too. Well,
that was all therapy. Like most of my music stuff was just a growth period for me and finding myself. So like this is an actual like dedication. That was, I do enjoy it, but it's literally just, it helps. It's therapy. Some people journal. I write music. And it's not just enough for me to write. You know what I mean? It's kind of like it's kind of like I love creative games. I love being able to build in creative games. That's why I love Rust. Like it's such a cool game, but I found it hard because I can't just create in games just for myself. Like those people who can create these like elaborate, like, what's the game? Is it Animal Crossing? Is that the one that you can do it in? There's a couple different games where you can like, do your island and you can decorate it out like all you want. And it's like there's other games where you can like decorate like, you know, your home base. But after a while, it's like, but if it doesn't have any practical use, I just don't ever get into those things in games, because at the end of the day, I don't want to produce for myself, right? Like, I like being creative, but I can't just create to go, oh, hey, look, I did that. Okay, cool. And then just never look at it again, right? That's why Rust is so hard. Rust is, it wipes monthly, right? So it's like I could build these beautiful, elaborate creations, and then what? It wipes and then I have to do it again, or comes up with something new, but no one's going to enjoy it. I get enjoyment out of sharing. That's why this is so important to me. Like, I've been building High Point for 10 years and I have never felt more like enriched by it than when we talk about D&D, because it's, you know, it's sharing it. It's finally getting to like put all of that heart, you know, all of that ideas, you know, and out there and give people ideas. So, yeah, that's what drives me, is to share all of those ideas. And then with music, it was a therapy. It was a way for me to just kind of get some things out and find myself. But at the same time, I can't just do it half-assed, right? I couldn't just write the song. I had to see it all the way through, and I had to actually put it out there as part of the therapy. There was a big part about me overcoming some things and putting things out there publicly, which got me to here. So, I mean, hey, it worked. I never would have done this if I hadn't have done that first. But yeah, it's one of those things where, yeah, that's exactly what it is, man. Cosmic, we got another question. Is there a YouTuber that has 30 to 35, if not more, D&D story? Wait, what? Oh, there is a YouTuber. I thought you were asking if there is. There's animatics. Okay. Like, are you talking about like, are they like just like animated series? Because I know a couple of them. I follow a couple like animated series YouTubers, especially for like D&D content.
Those two.
What was the big one? Who's the big one? I think he's been doing it like one of the longest.
Oh yeah,
the redhead dude.
Like animated dictionary.
Animated spellbook. That's them. Animated spellbook is phenomenal. I love his stuff. He's been doing this forever. He's actually one of the inspirations that I had for the History of series, because I love when he does like, because he and one of his like DM buddies in his like shorts, it's the dude that always has the vest, like the bald guy with the vest and the mustache, if you notice his shorts. I love when they have their like in-game talks or like when they talk mechanics, because they definitely give me like old school AD&D vibes, but they also gripe about all of the old rule sets. So it's fun when they got into discussions about how it used to work and why it used to work that way and why it changed and how it changed. And that's definitely a big inspiration for doing the history of and how we've done it, where we want to see not just what was the rule change from one to the next, but why, what was the inspiration, what was the influence, and what did it do for the game, right? And looking at how each edition evolved. Not just this edition did this edition did that, but like looking at what it meant, you know, what did they keep, what did they ditch, how did they make it grow? I think we do that a lot better, but it was definitely inspired a lot by animated spellbook for sure. What's going on, Lucifer? Nice to see you in chat. Hope you're having a good night. Hope the rain isn't too bad for y'all. I'm actually really surprised. I probably shouldn't say this because, you know, knock on wood, but yeah, right before stream, the wind kicked up. Another hydrate. Thank you, Aki. Yeah, right before stream, when I was, Kage was calling me on Discord, the wind kicked up and my overhead light started to flicker. And I'm like, oh, yet another. Another, so here's another, yeah, if you have any other ideas for it, go ahead and post those in the Discord. Do a live reaction to, yeah, we won't be probably posting anybody else's content on the live stream. That's definitely something I want to stay away from. Not really comfortable using other people's content, especially, you know, on the live stream and all of that. I don't mind getting inspired to talk about certain things by other people's content, but I also don't want to steal other people's content, right? Like, I don't want to, you know, like I do based on nothing else, right? And I kind of feel comfortable doing that. I want to do based on nothing else more on TikTok, and that's like my daily series. But I would kind of feel bad if someone else started doing that one. So you know, I see a lot of, you know, other like DMs like doing different series, doing different little cuts or like their own perspective on things that are kind of repetitive. And as much as those are really unique, I don't want to do that idea myself. I'd want to do it more in a response to, like, hey, I'll respond to that one video, but I would want to stay away from like the series that they're doing. You know what I mean? If that makes kind of sense. So if you want to show that off, definitely throw that in the Discord. I'll go take a look at it. And then if we can comment on it on next stream, I definitely will. But yeah, just not, don't know where we're going to sit on looking at other content live. That's just, I don't know. I'm uncomfortable doing that. It's kind of a weird position to be in. You know what I mean?
Like, I don't mind talking about other content, but like showing it off and, you know, I mean, stitches are one thing, but when you're like just your whole thing is about somebody else's content, like I get the apprehension to something like that. Like I want to be creating our own content, not just using somebody else's content for whatever it is that we're trying to accomplish. So I'm definitely with you on that front.
Ooh, good question in chat. If you got targeted by Otto's irresistible dance, what style would you be dancing to? Like, what style of dance would you be afflicted by?
I'm pretty confident I would either be doing the cha-cha slide or the Macarena.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm something like that, or potentially, what's that one? What's it called? I don't want to be a chicken. I don't want to be a duck.
The chicken dance.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Lucifer. Okay. Very nice.
Thriller dance. I could see that.
He's also doing the chicken dance. Yeah, there we go.
I don't know. For me, I'm curious. What would if I had to choose? Honestly, so two trains of thought. Yay, ADHD. Two trains of thought here. From an in-game, in-lore perspective, one train of thought would be whatever dance would cause the least amount of fatigue. As in, if I'm going to get hit by this spell, looking at it from a realistic point of view, I'm going to want to do a dance that's not going to cause me to be tired afterwards, right? Like, you could be like, oh, I'm going to break dance. Be like, you know how much energy that's going to take you to bust out a move, especially you don't normally do? Like, assuming you don't pull a, you don't pull a muscle and you can do the move, like assuming that the spell makes you do the move, I'm still thinking that you have to physically do it, right? It'll aid you, but you still have to do it. So in that mindset, I would think something like tap dancing would be hilarious and not as consuming, and it would keep me on my feet and roughly in the same spot. Like, I wouldn't have to move around. But on the other hand, if it were more of one of those, the spell does all the work and you just get to choose how you look. I think river dancing would be fucking hilarious if it didn't cause me any pain or fatigue. I think that would just be that would be hilarious and probably the most fun to do. So those would be my two choices depending upon like how I'm approaching it.
Interesting. Very interesting. I'm trying to look at the spell to see. So it only lasts for a minute, so it's not going to be like crazy long. And it is like kind of in the middle of combat, but I love the fact that creatures that can't be charmed are immune to the spell.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like you have to be convinced to be able to do it.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I feel like that works. I feel like that for sure works.
Yeah. All right, chat. What's next? Lucifer, you just got here. We're just chatting with chat. We're just going off of what y'all want to talk about. So what do we got? River dance into people and kick them. Exact. Or what's the I forget what the name of it is. What's the Russian dance? You get super low and then kick out your feet. River dancing monk. That would be hilarious.
I'm curious if a monk could flavor their dancing as martial arts and actually
why not
be doing attacks.
I mean, why not? If they have a drunken monk, they should be able to do that. I'm just saying.
if it's capoeira, like that Brazilian martial arts, like where you're literally dancing, like you're hiding your martial arts as dance.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I'm 100%. Yeah. But you wouldn't be in control of the dance. That's the thing. Is one you're in control of, the other one you're not.
That's true. That's true.
Oh man. Now this makes me think of like an upcasted version of this, where it like you can do it en masse, like you can target like a certain AoE, and then all of a sudden you force people to do the conga, like a conga line.
Oh my god!
It just cast like on 3 to 5 people, and then you can force movement up to like 10 feet, so the actual conga line has to move. Like they all have to congregate in a line, and then they have to move 10 feet in a straight line. Oh man, that would be absolutely hilarious. But yeah, Cosmic, so or Lucifer, if you have anything that you want us to chat about, that is what we're doing. Y'all are picking the topics. If the character were to get a tattoo while blackout drunk, what shitty tattoo would they wake? Well, that's not our choice. You don't get to choose the tattoo that you get. Now, if we're choosing the tattoo we'd give somebody is one other thing. But what do you mean? Like, I mean, I don't know. Who am I hanging out with? Who tattooed me? Let's see. What tattoo? What would be funny for a D&D character? Like, you know, obviously not something like obvious and cringe, but I am thinking something that would be, because again, it would. This really depends on my character, right? Like, you know, if I'm playing like, you know, a half orc barbarian, you know, berserker type, I think, you know, tattooing like a happy little bird on them would be hilarious. Just, you know, like a nice little pretty bird or a pretty flower, just like right on their cheek or something, or a little heart would be hilarious. But then if it's like, you know, a mage, like a wizard, then I'd want to do something slightly like offensive, or just one of those like, you know, like just I'm trying to think of like, oh my god, like a glyph of warding that like stops them from doing something just stupid and mundane.
I imagine like a glyph of warding that wouldn't allow you to use the clean or soil part of prestidigitation. It's like the only thing it does. It just stops you from being able to like clean yourself if you were to like get soiled or soil somebody else if they were clean.
Well, now I'm thinking of like, just like, again, like ways that you can subtly insult people, like give up, like, you know how like there's a big thing for like guitarists of like playing like Stairway to Heaven, like you're not allowed to do that in like Guitar Center and stuff. Like you can't go into a public place and play like certain songs. So imagine just like you do that to like a bard, where they wake up and like tattooed on their arm is like the notes to Stairway to Heaven, or like the D&D equivalent. So it's just like, it's like permanently branding them with a thing that they all secretly hate, but it looks like they're like a big fanboy of it.
Wild. That would be awesome.
I gotta step away real quick again, but we had a question about carbuncles. I haven't heard that in a long time.
Carbuncles?
Yeah, we're asking if there's in D&D. You want to take a look at that real quick and see if that's a thing? Cosmic, like three in.
This out?
Looks like Cosmic did.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to look that up. Let me take a gander. I mean, the mindset that I have of this is, it's like, I mean, anything is theoretically like a thing in D&D, but the question is how much are you gonna address this thing that's here? So maybe.
What is a carbuncle?
If it's basically like, what it looks like is a fat zit but it's like a cluster of hairs that can like accumulate in a certain area that can cause like pus and stuff to like grow beneath the surface or whatever.
Oh, so it's not like a creature or anything. It's like a ailment.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, you could. Yeah, you can technically add that's just like a disease. You know what I mean? Like you could just add any kind of like physical feature. I mean, it's like saying that your character has warts, or a scar. I mean, no reason why you couldn't add any of that.
Sure. Yeah.
So that he is talking about a creature, some sort of creature.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not familiar with that creature. I don't
See if I can find anything. So there's South American lore.
Is it like a fantasy creature? Is it like a...
Okay, so it's almost like a, I think Eevee from Pokemon is a carbuncle, it looks like.
Oh, interesting. That's kind of the vibe that I'm getting. 3 tails, really long ears, very colorful.
Yeah,
okay. I mean, then I would say that that's up to you, Cosmic. Stock, I would say I've never heard of it.
Yeah, there's definitely is. I mean, I'm sure there's a supplemental that has a very, very similar creature. Actually, you know what? I'll bet you I can find it. I'll bet you I can find it.
I'm curious what these creatures do, like what their abilities are, like what they're known for.
They are in D&D.
Lore?
They are available in D&D.
Yeah.
Yep. Looks like
is it
3rd edition. Yeah, 3rd edition and Pathfinder. Both had it. So this one is Pathfinder. Looks like they were reptilian, and then in Forgotten Realms, they are small armored telepathic animals resembling armadillos with a bright gem in their forehead, which is very similar to psionic races. That's curious. I wonder if they have psionic powers. Telepathic and empathic abilities allow them to easily communicate with other creatures. So that's how Forgotten Realms showed them. But then Pathfinder, small awkward reptile with a fist-sized gem jutting out between its 2 bulging eyes. So that seems to be a common thing. Yeah, so carbuncles are creatures in D&D lore. They are available.
I'm curious.
Now, I don't know about 5e.
Where they come from.
Well,
Yeah, I didn't see
find
anything
out.
5e wise, but if they are, I'm curious to know what resource they come from.
I don't know if we're going to find a real resource, because these, a lot of this may be homebrewed. So the CR1 monstrosity, that might be a homebrew of it. This doesn't tell me. Oh, no, that's 5e homebrew. Get away from me. I don't need your homebrew. Well, let's see if
at least not in any books I have.
Yeah, let me see if D&D Beyond has anything that's not homebrew.
Sure, that's fair enough.
Negative. So it looks like it is a remnant.
Recently.
Yeah, so it looks like it's a remnant from 3.5 and Pathfinder. Did not get picked back up by 5th edition, but who knows? Maybe there's a supplemental that mentions it, but it does look like this is a relic from AD&D. But it's out there. So it has stat blocks. It has stat blocks. It has speed. It has abilities. So let's see. So the armadillo type inhabited woodlands and marshlands, and they were areas with abundant food. They fed on forest leaves and small insects. In turns, they were edible. Humans and demi-humans of the Dalelands roasted them and served them in their own shells, finished with a beet sauce and garlic. And Dalelands, referred to the Dales, is a region of North Faerun, defense forest and bountiful rolling farmland. Okay. So that was where one of them came from. And then the reptilian version, Garbo must be a little more than reptile that is in the past. This one doesn't say where they're from. Oh, any forest or swamps for the reptile, but the reptile doesn't actually have a gem. It's more of a growth that resembles a gem, but it's not actually like a gem or anything, and it doesn't have any telepathic powers.
It's not actually like value or anything. You couldn't like harvest it after you kill it or something.
Yeah, correct.
Interesting.
Sweet.
So I will say I did stumble upon something interesting. I swear I sent it to you, Vortex. It was a TikTok about something D&D Beyond did, where they actually took a homebrew class and added it to D&D Beyond. And it was homebrewed by another, I want to say, fairly well-known creator. So like, I don't know if you've ever heard of, I almost said Goblin Notebook. Griffin's Saddlebag. So Griffin's Saddlebag, I found them initially on Instagram, and they make all kinds of homebrew items, and they make some like really, really, really cool ones. And so there's been a lot that I've wanted to steal, but I feel like it's another creator like them. Like they're fairly well established, but D&D Beyond actually took that and like added it to their character creation. So I'm really hoping that stuff like that is going to become more prevalent in D&D Beyond, because theoretically in D&D Beyond, we were talking earlier about like keeping up with the rules. You can still create characters with old 5th edition stuff in D&D Beyond, with 2014 stuff in D&D Beyond. Like you can use the legacy rules, they're still there, which I love. And so I really think that it would be cool, you know, being able to like see new things like this. Like imagine like putting these things in games, like all the homebrew stuff that's there. Like whenever you did D&D Beyond homebrew reviews, right? A lot of that stuff is stuff that's published.
Oh yeah.
Theoretically, I don't know how you can grab it and like use it like in a game in D&D Beyond. Like I don't know how easy that is, but
oh yeah, you can add anybody's stuff to your, if once you make an account, if you like something on homebrew, you just add it to your collection, and then it's in your collection and you can use it. It just automatically gets added to your repertoire. Yeah, so it's that's why it's really easy. So if you publish something on there, it's available for everybody.
That's pretty cool. So I don't know how easy or difficult it is to customize like an entire class in D&D Beyond. Like,
it's actually really robust. You should. If you haven't done it, I mean anybody out there, I mean D&D, I know D&D Beyond isn't like the greatest resource, but for anybody out there, if you haven't, make an account and go through the setup process. It's also kind of fun just to kind of get an idea, because it helps you walk through each part of it. So it may give you ideas that you weren't thinking of before in terms of like how to structure it. So I would just say, yeah, walk through it if you haven't yet. I mean, hell, maybe we should do that on one of our streams.
My biggest problem with D&D Beyond is so little is available for free.
Yeah.
Most of what they have available is kind of locked behind like a paywall of some sort. And so like it makes it really hard for me to actually sit down and play around with it and like see what it is that I want to be able to do. And I have done a good amount of homebrewing in there for like items and things like that. And I wish there was like a more clear instruction manual on like how to get certain effects. Like, say if I wanted to create a spell that would, what do you call it? Give somebody the prone condition. Like, how do I go about doing that? Do I just write it in there, or is there a specific like place in there I have to go that says? Hey,
and that's actually why I really suggest utilizing D&D Beyond, because even if you don't like the service, being able to walk through their setup is just kind of, it walks you through like bit by bit.
Walkthrough? Because the experimentation that I've done,
it's not something, no, they don't like tell you. It's just more of like what they have you fill out is just more of a. It should go through each of those things, right? It shouldn't just be like a block of text. It should like ask you like certain factors depending on what you're building. I haven't built a spell in it yet, but usually like if you're walking through like a character creation or even a creature or something, it will go through like, what are the stats that it's going to have? Like it'll go through like what's going to be its movement, what's its ability. Like it'll walk through each thing you're supposed to fill out. It won't just be a tell us what you want and we'll form. Yeah, it'll actually. So yeah, I'll have to do. I haven't done a spell yet, but doing a creature and doing a character is actually really cool.
Or items. Try spells or items, because those are the ones that I had the hardest times with. Creatures, I feel like, are fairly straightforward, fortunately. But when I'm trying to find something that like does something specific, like if I wanted armor that, I don't know, it gave me advantage on certain checks, like dexterity checks. Like there's different places that they have to put certain things.
Yeah.
And I've found it's not always crazy clear, like, oh, this belongs in this section, rather than you just have to write this in a block of text over here, because there's really no place to put that specific thing. So
that's where honestly ChatGPT or something similar could really be helpful too, is you could let it know, here's all the information, format this in a 5th edition approved, spell style, like write this as if it were a 5th edition spell. And you could just at least see what it gives you, so you could at least see the format and then compare that to another spell, like go read another spell real quick and just make sure, it follows that same format. So that could be something that you could try. But yeah, it would be nice and more robust if it like gave you syntax. Basically what you want is like a syntax legend. Like, hey, damage goes here, stats get displayed like this. If it does XYZ, do it this way first. And like some sort of way to let you know how it should be formatted.
Beyond, you can actually roll the homebrew creations that you have. So you can like press a button and it will roll the thing for you. It will say how much damage you do. It can tell you what you need to add to all these things. Like, and in order for that to like proc properly, it has to be put in the correct place.
Right. You have to there's got to be some sort of
recognize certain things. So yeah. But I definitely get the value in being able to have these different platforms. Like there's one that I created, or not created, that I found that's fairly simple for creating creatures. And what I really like about it is that it has templates. So if, say, you know that there's a certain creature that has an ability, like certain creatures have innate spellcasting, you can go through and find innate spellcasting and it'll pop up the text for innate spellcasting and you can just edit that text. Right? Now, all it's going to give you in the end of the day is a really cool picture that looks like a 5e creature, or you can like go into like the background and like pull out the markdown code, and like I would be able to use it for Goblin Notebook, or I'd be able to use it for to be honest, a lot of the creatures that our homebrewers sent into me, I built in this website and then took the markdown and I put it in Goblin Notebook, and that's what I use to display it for you and everybody else that's actually looking at what's happening.
Okay.
So it's there's some really cool resources out there that allow you to actually like turn stuff into something cool. I wish they would have stuff like that for spells. I wish they would have stuff like that for items. Like that would be a really cool thing to find. But
hey, guess what? We can put that in the ADMG. We can actually go through, you and me, like on stream or off stream, but we could actually go out and detail out, like try to detail out what the rules are. Like if this is in a spell, these are the places that it should belong. Like we could literally map that out and then just summarize that. Like if you're making a spell, you know, this is the layout, like this is how it should read, and then give some if ands, right? Like if you do this, then put it here. If you need to put a dexterity saving throw, or if you need to put a savings throw, this is how you write it out. Here's what the parentheses should hold, right? We could literally do that. We could just make a small little like one page in the entire book that just says, here's the syntax that is expected when you write something out, or at least the general rule of thumb, you know, because there's some like, you know, faux pas, right? If you're going to do, you know, if you're going to do like an additive, always put it at like, you know, if you're going to do an upgrade, right? Always put that at the end, like the upcast always goes at the end, right? Material component always goes at the very beginning, right? You don't wait till the very end of the spell to say, and there's a special material component for all of this. Like, no, that should have been the very first thing. You know what I mean? Like, so we could maybe go about it in that particular way. Almost kind of like how you did the roadmap, but in a much more succinct way, and just kind of show off like, here's how, you know, here's how you write it up. I kind of like that. Like like the whole chapter could be about like homebrew, like just homebrew techniques and mechanics.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Because we've talked about that, about like giving advice, like doing a chapter on how to balance homebrew and stuff. So that whole area could be like a whole chapter could just be about homebrewing and all the different ways that we would suggest how to go about doing things.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. I like this idea.
No, for sure.
All right. Well, let's see. We are coming up to 10 o'clock. We are past the 2-hour mark. Chat, do you have anything else for us? Any other topics, questions, tangents? As if not, I'm good calling it here. It's a dark and stormy night. I haven't had food yet. I don't know what I'm going to eat. I might have fajitas waiting for me. I'm not sure.
Food is good.
Yeah, food is good.
Fajitas. Oh, making me jelly. Yeah. That's awesome.
Homemade fajitas. Might have that. I don't know, but we'll give chat a few more minutes. Otherwise, we might just have to call it. That's all right sometimes. You were not here on Monday, correct?
That is correct. Sadly, Cosmic, I will miss out. I will be fervently excited to see this because I was there for the first review, so I'm very excited to see what the second review is gonna look like. But
I'm trying to make sure I notate both of me and Kage's notes, so at least I can comment.
The Chronicles of a Forgotten Age. Chronicles.
Oh yeah, it's been so long since I've heard that one. But yeah, so I'll also try to make note of what you said, Kage, like all of the things that you had mentioned during that stream. I'll make some summary notes there, so when I'm reviewing it, I can tell Cosmic what you had mentioned as well. And then that way, when you rewatch it, you'll also be able to
got you.
Double check. All right. Well, if nobody's here, do you mind? We got any buddies online? We got anybody who deserves a raid?
I think that Mind's Eye is still streaming.
Okay. Well, chat, if you got nothing else, I think that might be the end of it for us tonight. I'm really appreciative of you still being able to call in. I mean, the setup is looking great, by the way. Like, I'm really happy with what you got going on now.
I'm excited because I was talking to you a little bit before stream about trying to get some of my own streaming going on too, doing some maybe more technical stuff like programming and things of that nature. But
do you want to talk about that real quick before we raid out? Yeah, go ahead and talk about that real quick. I'll be right back.
Sure. So it's a lot of the work that Vortex and I are doing, you know, behind the scenes for the stream, some of the stuff that I do for the homebrew, but a lot of it has to do with programming. And I've been working on building, you know, my skill set when it comes to programming and what exactly it is that I know how to do and things that I can build. And so, but there's a lot of times where I don't have the people to ask questions to like grow in what it is that I'm doing. So I'm thinking that it would be a really cool idea. I have this upcoming week off of work, so it's going to be really nice. So I'm going to try a couple of times to stream. I know Lucifer and Vortex and I were talking about a program called Obsidian. Mind's Eye, the one we're going to be raiding out to, will hopefully also has a little bit of interest in looking into Obsidian. Some small, programming in there. You have like Java and a little bit of Python that you can do, and actually create really, really cool templates to be able to automatically build things. Vortex and I were also talking about next year potentially building a website and being able to be well versed into CSS and HTML code to be able to like customize a lot of what that's going to look like is going to be really valuable. So I'm thinking about starting to stream my process of learning those things, just because I know that there are a lot of people out there that have a lot of perspective that I don't have. And if there's anybody out there that can help give me advice, tell me, hey, I've been here, I tried this, like I am so totally here for that. And I want to be able to to receive that, get that information out there, and start moving towards that. Also, I found a bunch of old Destiny videos of myself, and I was thinking about posting those up if anybody's interested in watching like ancient Destiny 1 gameplay, just because why not? It's terrible. I'm terrible. But it's hilarious, and I miss that game so much, so I just want to put it out there because. And then lastly, if I can ever figure out how to connect my PlayStation to Twitch so that I can just like straight stream.
Vixie will show you how to get the capture card to work.
Okay. I definitely need that, because I would love to stream a little bit of Fortnite with you, which would be great because I do Fortnite on PlayStation, but then also be able to stream what's my game? Genshin Impact. Because I, as infrequent as I play that game, it's one of my favorite games to play. It's really open world. I get to explore things. I've already built like a good foundation in the game so far. So, it's very cool. So I think those things would be kind of cool. And just if you guys are ever interested in that, if it's ever something that you want to do, thank you, Lucifer, for that last minute hydrate.
The final hydrate of the night. Are you going to be doing that on your current on do you have a specific Twitch account that you're going to be doing that on, or are you going to create a new one?
I will.
Or still TBD.
I feel like when it comes to streaming, I'm probably just going to stream as myself. I'm not really trying to build a brand for myself when it comes to what I'm streaming. Like I feel like I'm okay being me as Kage here with you in Misfit Gamers Studios. I feel like I'm okay being attached to the brand that you and I are creating. I mean, theoretically, you are attaching Vortex to the brand Misfit Gamers Studios, right? So like, I'm okay being a part of that and just having some of the streams that I do be something that I can share with Misfit Gamer Studios, and
Absolutely.
You guys can use to build what the community that we're building here, like do the same thing that you do I don't know if we could.
I mean, we've always said consistency is key, and that's the thing is if you're here talking about your stream, but you have a completely different one, that's totally fine. But yeah, if you are here with this community and you also, drop hints that, you do that as well, overlap will happen. I mean, Lucifer will already be there. Mind's Eye will probably pop in every now and again. So yeah, that's definitely where it's at. I'll definitely do anything I can to help you out, and we'll get you set up on your own account so you can start doing that. Because it probably won't be anything Misfit Gamer Studios normally related, but I mean, you have the backing, so might as well use it. I mean, you have you have one platform already, so you might as well use that to help your other platform.
And theoretically, it's all gaming related, because even though a lot of what I'm doing is programming, it's programming in the development of either specifically Misfit Gamer Studios or gaming in general, right?
Right.
Because a lot of the stuff I'm doing with Obsidian is helping DMs like organize their notes, organize their worlds, and to build it in a place that they can actually use and bring and present to their players effectively. So, I love all of it and what the potential of what it can do. So I'm here for it.
Absolutely. All right. Well, cool. Well, it looks like that might be the last questions that we have, so I think we'll end it there. Keep an eye out in Discord. Link is now in chat, but keep an eye out in the Discord. We will let you know Kage's progress, and of course, we'll shout him out whenever we can once he gets up and running. If you guys haven't followed us on TikTok yet, we do have 2 pretty good videos out right now. One approaching 90K and one approaching 150K, so we could use all of that. So if you want to follow us on any of the socials, our link tree is also in the... Yeah, it's a lot. But our link tree is there. It has all of our social medias, so go ahead and do that. We are in progress of trying to get live on Twitch. I can go live, but I can't get the stream keys, so we may or may not be doing that anytime soon. Depends on when Twitch will kick that on for me. But yeah, otherwise, business as usual. More shorts are being posted every single week. Still Monday and Fridays, as always. Homebrew review on Monday with Cosmic's re-review. Kage won't be with me, but he'll be here in spirit. And then we'll be back again next Friday, which we will probably by next Friday. Yeah, by next Friday, we'll have a clearer view of what December's going to look like. I'm going to be gone for some of the stream days on vacation. And I don't know how many of those that we're just normally going to be able to hit with all the holidays coming up, but I'm going to try to keep streaming as much as I can for any stream, for any D&D discussion stream that we miss. It's not going to be like a hard set rule where I'm going to try to replace every single one, but for any of the normally scheduled ones that we missed during December, I will be trying to do some sort of going live, whether it's video games or some sort of, interaction with chat. But I will be trying to keep up with that, because I don't want to just take 3 weeks off and then, that people forget you after 3 weeks. Trust me, you'll fall off real quick. So I'll be trying to be online as much as I can. We just won't have the regular D&D discussions, but we'll do as much as we can throughout December and then pick it right back up in January. But we'll have more details about that next week. So stay tuned. Kage's progress will also be posted in Discord, so stay tuned for that. Otherwise, we're going to raid out to Mind's Eye. So thank you guys all so much for joining us on today's Chatting with Chat. If you guys want to stick around, Mind's Eye usually has some really intriguing gameplay. He's really good at storytelling. Has a 2024 went by very fast. But yeah, Mind's Eye has a really intriguing gameplay. He's a really good narrator and storyteller. And yeah, he's fantastic to listen to. So if you want to hear some good gameplay, stick around for just a few more minutes. When we get over there, if you are going to join us for the raid, please spam your favorite emoji and give him a big old greetings from us. Otherwise, thank you guys so much. I hope you guys had a great week. I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend ahead of you. We'll be back on Monday, guys. Cheers.
Friends.
You want to say that again? It didn't quite come through.
Deuces, my friends.
Where is he? There he is. All right. He's got 9 people. Mind's Eye. All right, y'all. We are going to raid out. Thank you all for joining us. Again, spam that favorite emoji. Give him a big old greetings. We will see you guys next week.